Why is John number?
Was there a collaborative decision on this photo?
Okay, well, you asked this question. If everybody saw my photo from Nintendo's website, I sent them 3 photos, and they picked the goofiest one. You can barely see it, but I'm kind of doing one of these, permanently mad at the guy to my left. And I kind of love it, but they also used it for my Walter Day trading card, which afterwards I have plenty if anybody would like one.
Wasn't this in, the photo that was chosen for this panel as well, where you were grimacing at me?
Yes. I think it was grimacing at my name.
Okay.
Do we have a Thor yet? Should we just take questions until he gets here?
I think we need to start a Thor chant. I think that's what he's waiting for.
Because we only have 45 minutes, so let's get it going.
Okay. Chris, you want to start?
Do I want to start? Who wants? Okay. Okay. My name is Chris Bidwell. My gamer tag is BSG4000, and I'm a tweener. I'm not really a new guy. And they asked me if I wanted my gamer tag or my real name, and I asked Nintendo if what were most of the people using, and they said gamer tags, so I went with my gamer tag. And if you care, it stands for Bookstore G, and I just use BSG as my arcade initials. So it makes no sense, but that's why I chose that name. It's not very intimidating. So, but that's sort of a new phenomenon with the using gamer tags instead of my real name, because all these guys use real names, and the Tetris tournament guys all use real names. Is that interesting? I'm new at this. Thank you.
When I was watching it, I thought you were a big Battlestar Galactica fan or something.
That's, yeah, and I didn't even think, because when I came up with it, it was like 15 years ago, like that new, wait. There he is. You have the painter's cap still. I can't find mine. That's like not even bent up. I think mine got bent up in the wash or something one time.
Special story. I think Robin and Thor probably had a big pile of them.
Can I have one?
Are we introducing ourselves?
Okay, so I introduced myself as this guy.
Okay. I am Robin Mihara. I was in the NWC. I came in 3rd behind the gentleman to my left. Little thing about me that no one knows is that there was a contest in 1991, the year after, called the Disney Capcom Play Tour, which also went to 30 cities like the NWC, and I came in 1st in that. The games being Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, and DuckTales. And I'm also a co-producer of the movie Ecstasy of Order, which was the Tetris documentary, which I hope...
Go buy it.
Actually, this weekend only, it's free on YouTube or something. I've been getting a lot of texts of people finally, people didn't want to pay the $3 to rent it. Got it together and watched it. So check it out if you haven't. And funny thing about the movie was that originally it was supposed to be all about me. And then we introduced a character that was far more compelling. That's the gentleman to my left.
Ben Mullen. Sorry.
Which is one of my closest friends now, Thor, and I'm glad to have him in Portland again.
My name is Thor Ackerlund. Actually, my middle name is Bjorn, which means bear. I played video games way back in the day, and it was a way to make friends. Everybody seemed to have a story about Nintendo. And I don't know, at the time I didn't realize what it meant. I was just excited to be there. But more than anything that mattered to me was the people that I met along the way. And so I'm happy to meet all you folks.
All right, hi everyone, my name is Vince Clemente. I run the Tetris World Championships. I also was a producer on Ecstasy of Order, the Tetris Masters. I guess my story is a bit of a sad story. I was competing in this NWC this year. Leading up to it, I've always wanted to have a Dr. Mario tournament. So finally Nintendo introduced that the game was going to be Dr. Mario this year, which is kind of like, I got excited, so I bought the DS and practiced and got, within 2 weeks, was the 2nd highest score in the US. And then come the tournament day, I went and stood in line at 6 a.m. and had my one chance, and I got a 5 million point score, which would have won some of the cities.
All but one.
All but one. And I was told that I couldn't try again, and so I went home. And towards the end of the day, in other cities and in Torrance where I was competing, people just got to stand there and play and play and play. So that's my story. I got robbed from being a Nintendo World Champion.
Basically, Nintendo, just to clarify, Nintendo changed the rules halfway through the day and decided that people could try again and again, but by that time Vince had left. It's totally unfair. And then your score ended up being high enough where you would have won anywhere else, right?
I would have won anywhere else besides Dallas, which 2 guys in Dallas played for 4 hours straight.
ESP.
I only got 1 try, and I put up I think the 3rd highest score of the entire day across the United States with my 1 try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you guys.
And to be fair, the one man who beat him, Packy, he's currently the world record holder in that game with 13 million, and he did it in 1 try according to him. But they did change the rules in other cities, and if it would have been him versus Packy in like a mano-a-mano situation, that would have been an incredible thing to watch. But I don't want to dogpile on Nintendo publicly or even privately, so I'll just state that part and be over with it. Should we just put up the questions then, or do you want to do stories, or do because it's kind of 2 different tournaments. I mean, the real reason they did it this year was marketing, and it was a 25th anniversary, and that man was sitting in the front row, and it was pretty awesome to know that he was there. It would have been cool if they would have let him compete, but there was a sense of history in the building at the moment. It wasn't just marketing. It didn't feel like it. It felt special at standing on that stage in Los Angeles.
I have a question for whoever wants to answer it. As far as it being a marketing event, is it actually more of a marketing event or a viable video game tournament? Because the games in this year's championship were just kind of random games, it seemed like. Whereas in 1990, people got to prepare and actually play, and it seemed like it was kind of a legit competition rather than this year, which is more of like a marketing.
Well, the Power Fest was a marketing. It was just a tour. It's like, come and look at all our new games coming out. Oh, we have this competition going on too. Like all these, like even the ones with the Atari and the Intellivision ones, they've always been commercials for the games. But all of us that participated and go to these things, it's more to us. It means more to us than just a marketing arm. And I'm not negative about it. I'm glad that there's a reason why to have these things, and especially this year because the qualifying game was Nintendo games from 1990. And how many companies are going to go back 25 years for a competition now? I mean, that's pretty amazing, and that's why I got to represent these guys when I was there because I was the oldest competitor at this year's tournament. And everybody else was in their early 30s or younger and didn't really roll around back in 1991. And when I told them I participated in 1990, they just kind of, what, really? And never really, they capitalized on it, but they were pretty shocked that a 39-year-old was still in it.
Now, Chris, what are your feelings on the, they had 8 cities and 1 person from each city won, but then they had 8 other people selected at random. No, not random, they selected YouTubers.
No, they weren't random.
And people that had good videos online just to kind of get a bigger...
I have no issue with anybody who was in it. They're all great. There were 2 guys they put in for views and for comedy effect, but they were nice and they weren't jerks about it or anything like that, so I don't have a problem with anybody selected. Maybe it would have been nice to add some more people at large, who did well but didn't win, or people on the online leaderboard, but I can't complain overall about the selections themselves.
Is there anything we could ask that you would complain about?
That was the moment of my life, so no, I'm biased.
What was the difference, Thor, from this in 1990?
2015 versus 1990?
Yeah.
Basically, you got to split it in 2 parts. In 1990, how many, raise your hands if you were playing games back then. All right, so you realize what a cultural event it was. It was part of your friendships and your family, and it was part of your culture at the time, just Nintendo, and just sharing stories about struggling in Ninja Gaiden or whatever it was. Like people understood that was a way to connect people. And when the contest came out and it was touring the nation, it was not a fly-by-night kind of like, oh, here's a contest, kind of like, in some little warehouse or something. They filled out the biggest convention centers they could find, and it was just crazy huge, and tons of people were there, and there was media there, and it was a real thrill. But the thing that really made it was the people that hosted it. Terry Torak was the guy on stage yelling Tetris at everybody.
The greatest mullet of all time.
Yes, but he was the nicest person. He was really genuinely affectionate and helpful and kind to people, and all the employees were like that. And it went on for 9 months of the year. It wasn't just like, oh, here's the weekend of the tournament, that's it. So it dominated the scene, and it was when Nintendo was on top of the world, and then they had the finals, and it was like an epic finale, and you had the big screens. It was like the movie The Wizard. It really was like being in something that was bigger than you could understand as a kid. And I felt that in the 2015 deal, they got the last part right. The finals were great to see and be there. I think that maybe due to time constraints or potentially budget, I don't know what the deal was, but the little Best Buy deal with the little folding tables and...
Yeah, that seemed a little ad hoc. There's my complaint. I definitely agree with that. It would have been cooler to have a bigger... You go to the Best Buy. Did anybody go to 2015 in any of the cities? Did you just kind of stood in line? Hey, Mick, come up here, man. Mick's in the back. He was another finalist this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely the difference to me. But I think that they can grow on it. I hope that they keep it going, because that was the big thing in 1991. Back in the day, all of the competitors that went through 1990, even the people that maybe had visited it and didn't compete but were excited about it, waited until next year because it was such a cool deal. Like a season of a sport or something. It just builds to a crescendo. And then I forget what it was, Campus Challenge or yeah.
Paul is pointing at me because I just broke the world record on that. That's why he's pointing at me.
I'm coming for you.
Yeah, you'll get me, I'm sure.
And to me, it was just really depressing because it was not the same thing. It wasn't even the same universe. Like it seemed like it was. There wasn't any passion behind it. The production or the presentation. Terry Lee Torek wasn't there. Like the energy wasn't there. The size, the scale was gone, and it never came back. But they had a chance, back then, if they really did like a full NWC 91, full NWC 92, it could have been something that grew and was on like MTV or like my buddy Chris Tang. He's a Sega World Champion right there in the second row. Yeah, multi-champion. But they just kind of let it slip away. But now they did the 2015. They could come back to 2016. They could make it a little better. They could learn from a couple things with 2015, like the whole little Best Buy, little like Expo board, and
They had 300,000 viewers online apparently, so that's a lot of eyeballs. They got to do something, whether it's an NWC or something similar, or whether it's just modern games. They're going to do something next year, but we'll see what it is.
Yeah, and that's the strength of the Nintendo is great games and great games that can bring people together. Great games that are fun to play with one another, especially like local multiplayer and just stuff that's a blast. It's timeless. Evergreen, I guess they call it. Doesn't matter if it's 5 years old or it's on system that's 25 years ago. It's amazing.
Robin's mom.
Robin's mom. Poker ace.
That's my hope, is that there is a 2016 and 2017 and that they can build on it, because that's going to be people coming back and energy shared and rivalries, and because then you get the human stories, like, oh, this guy won 2 years ago, is he going to come back and do this year? There's all kinds of things that can layer, whereas when if it's a one-off, you don't get those stories to really build because you don't know who these people are.
Well, and did anybody see the Disney XD special they did like 3 months after the fact? No. Mick did. If you watch the broadcast, none of the players were mic'd. They didn't start marking who was playing on screen until the second or third game, and you didn't know who was playing whom. And then Disney XD had us mic'd and did backstage interviews and stuff, but you didn't see that until 3 months later, and it was on like a third-tier cable network that nobody's even heard of. And if you get a chance to watch that, it was pretty good. That they got some stories in, they got some good quotes, and they told us during the production that they were going to make us look like rock stars. And for schlubby 30, not 8-year-olds, I think they did an okay job at that. But that they could incorporate that into the live broadcast, or maybe shorten it down from 4 hours, or make the build up a little bit better, and have more than a month of prep time, because they just kind of announced it. And, we're going to be at Best Buy in 2 weeks. Show up if you were paying attention. And I think that the hardcore Nintendo fans follow Nintendo like that online. But my friend Steve pointed out to me, he messaged me, like, "Do you work for Nintendo? Look at this commercial," because it's that Reggie commercial where he's playing Virtual Boy and acting like an idiot. And I was thinking they're going to bring back Virtual Boy games, and they didn't quite go that far. But they brought back Balloon Fight for this thing, which was that was pretty amazing, and it was a nice touching tribute to Mr. Iwata, who passed away like a month later. So.
Well, Chris, what did you think of the team play format in the early rounds?
I think it played out like a reality show, and somebody's going to get eliminated somehow, and that's how it happened. But since they did give us a second chance, I don't really have a problem with the format, because they gave us the underground part, which frankly was probably the most exciting parts of the whole thing.
Yeah, Chris, you had one of my favorite moments maybe my favorite moment of the whole show, when you won in the Zelda underground level. Yeah, that was pretty amazing, because I was up against TMR, the Mexican runner, who he can beat Battletoads with one hand. I mean, he does all kinds of crazy stuff on his stream. And I see a choking symbol there. I think the biggest thing was we were playing on the Wii U Virtual Console, and if you watch the Disney show, you see all 4 of us playing, and the other 3 people are watching the television, and I'm looking at my controller, and the lag on the Wii U Virtual Console is horrendous, and if you use the controller, it's not as bad. I think that was why I pulled it out. I don't think it was, I was lucky that I didn't die. I was the only one that didn't die, but I think that little advantage helped me win that. I got to be a 13-year-old and scream like an idiot, and you don't see that on the stream, but on the Disney XD you got to see that. Yeah, it was, as the kids say, I popped off. Yeah, I did. Let's take questions, sir.
So I noticed that they had an age limit this time. The original NWC didn't seem like it limited ages, right?
I think it was 13 and up.
No, there was a younger kids category.
Oh, you're talking about the old one, okay.
Yeah, the old one, they didn't really care how old we were. They were 11 and under, and it had no bottom limit.
Did they do better than the adults?
Yes.
The 11 and unders?
No,
Yes.
no. NWC?
Yeah, NWC, middle age category is strongest,
Oh,
followed
yeah.
by kids, followed by...
He said 11 and under.
Yeah.
The highest score for 11 and under was Jeff Hansen at 3 million.
Yeah, and that was higher than...
And Thor was at 4 million, so he was quite a bit better.
Yeah. So the upper age category was the lowest scoring for...
Yeah, the adults couldn't play Tetris for some reason. But now all the best Tetris players are in their 30s, I think.
And NWC, everybody was 22 plus. Like there was no, even though it was eligible for 13-year-olds, no kids were in it.
Well, what 13
Yours.
plays Dr.
Yeah, 2015. Yes.
That's the problem with our society. There's not enough Dr. Mario.
Yeah, when's the Dr. Mario World Championships? Is that going to be next year?
I hope so. Are you coming, Chris?
I'll come for that.
We need someone else to put it on so we can actually win.
Actually, I have a question for 2015 as well.
Sure.
So particularly during Zelda and Super Metroid, I noticed that the controllers were disconnecting, and like the Wii U menu screen would come up.
Yeah.
If you were there, what actually happened?
Well, if you're familiar with the Wii U controller, it has the regular shoulder buttons, and then has triggers also. And in Super Metroid, to aim up, you use the shoulder button like you do in a Super Nintendo controller. I instinctively went for the right trigger, which brings up the Virtual Console menu, and so did a lot of other people. And they gave us a list of the controls because I haven't played it since 1994. I remembered it, but I wasn't like deeply familiar with it, so I wouldn't have won anyway. and the control list on this piece of paper folded up, so we have to unfold it, and then it's just a screenshot of the original SNES controls. So it said R button for hold up, so I just instinctively went for the trigger, and then I panicked, and then I probably did it again, and then I ended up dying on a glitch in that game. If anybody watched, if you know Super Metroid, at the end, you fight the Mother Brain until she shoots you with this hyper beam, and then the hyper beam takes you down to next to 0 health. And then the baby Metroid's supposed to save you and then regain your health, and then you fight on to the end. Well, I was down to like 30 health, and then I got hit by a bomb out of nowhere while I was frozen. I couldn't move. And I didn't know it was a glitch. I just kind of like, what happened? I was, I didn't know. So I was behind, so I wasn't going to complain. And there's a funny story, the guy who won it, Sinister 1, I ended up not coaching him, but he was not used to the lag because he normally speedruns that game. Using wall jumps and double jumps, but the lag was throwing off his timing so bad. He had to go old school and go platform to platform. And I was kind of behind him saying, just keep jumping, you're ahead, you're fine, don't panic. And he ended up winning and like thanked me on his stream about it and called me the voice of God, which is better than winning that game, because had I actually made it out of the underground, I would have been in Smash Brothers, and I'm 39 years old and I don't play Smash Brothers at all. So I would have been toast, and Mick back there would have crushed me and smiled and laughed at me.
I got crushed too.
Okay. Who had a question? Who said that? You?
He just responded to you.
I was just saying I got crushed in Smash.
You got crushed, okay. Yeah, Numbers was going to win that thing. I could tell Friday night when we met that he had it. Like, he was playing Mario Party on the DS with other people, and the intensity he had in Mario Party, you knew that's what type of competitor he was, and he was well deserved.
I'm definitely happy he won over you, Chris. I mean, I wish you won, Chris, but because I know you personally.
I'm more than happy I got my
yeah,
moment.
but I'm glad like the best player came out and won.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He had the #1 score in NWC Remix at the time of the tournament. So. We'll do plaid shirt, and then the guy behind him, and then Paul.
So nowadays, when people are getting ready for competitions, it's so easy. You jump online, play someone in like almost any game you want to. But back in 1991, nobody had the internet, and everything was like so small, closed off within tiny communities. How did you feel like you were like ready for like a national competition? Like, when were you happy with your skills? Like, how did you get ready for something like that, not knowing that someone else could be like 10 times better than you?
Yeah, that was me. I was the one who was 10 times worse than those guys, I'll believe. I got like 400,000 in my NWC run, which is pretty good when I was 13. But they after the semifinals, they said 800,000 and up, and I'm like, oh crap. And but that's you guys. I'm sorry, I'm taking all the thunder.
The truth was, I think both Thor and I were pretty bad our first city. My high was 790,000, and yours was like 900. You hadn't broken down yet?
You had to be in the top 7 on Sunday to go through, and I was number 8 at my first city.
Bubble. Yeah. So what? I think every single player that was in the top 7 had gone to at least one city, and you just get better as you watch others. By the end of the tour.
Like, not just one city, but the next.
Yeah. Sorry. Additional cities. And by the end of the tour, and you had like 26, 27 cities out of 30, all of the great players were just going from like. Some of them like weren't going to school. A couple of them were homeschooled.
Yeah, because that went into like October, right?
December.
Wow.
March to December.
And
For my own clarification, were you allowed to enter multiple cities?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You couldn't win multiple cities though.
Right.
You got to practice.
Mm-hmm. They charge you like $2 to play? Was it? What,
It was 10 to get in and $3 per try, from what I remember.
But it was all word of mouth, like how to play better, right? Rather than internet.
Yeah,
was
there
your
were
question?
there
Which,
were
like
3
nowadays. Like I watched how people beat the NWC game this year online before.
It was interesting because the way all of the best players were playing by the end of it was completely different than in the beginning. In the beginning, for some reason, the Tetris players were so bad that like people were winning just staying in Mario. I hope you're all familiar with the NWC format, but you could stay in Mario and get like 300,000-400,000 by rocking the turtle. And instead of going into Tetris. And then they changed the rule and said you had to hit every game or you're disqualified. But the three big changes were somebody realized that if you crashed on purpose in Rad Racer at the very end, it would slow you down and save you like 2 or 3 seconds instead of letting it you skid out. I don't think we know who came up with the Mario strategy where if you killed yourself in level 1, instead of taking all the time to go into the pipe and tally up your time and all that, if you killed yourself twice in level 1, I think you saved like 11 seconds or a considerable amount of time. And then the very best players in Tetris learned to not get a Tetris and just save the long bar, because the higher you stacked your pieces, the less time it took for pieces to go down. So all 3 games, somebody found something that kind of changed everything.
The guy behind Placer guy.
Yeah, how do you kind of feel about the decline of local multiplayer? It's not as prevalent in the as examples. Newest Halo game is only have local multiplayer where every game would have it. So how do you kind of feel?
There's a system called the Wii U, which a lot of people claim to hate, but there's a lot of multiplayer games you can play at home with your kids, which is what I do. But I'm an old fogey, so. Oh, cool. Oh, see you guys.
I always play it by myself, so I can't.
Yes.
I just wanted to follow up a little bit with that, because I have a Wii U, and usually we like to play with 4 people, but most of the multiplayer we found are 2-player, and one of you has to stick your face in that tablet controller.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you see movement away from that back towards friends playing games?
I don't know, I really like that like Nintendo Land game where you like play Luigi's Mansion and you have the ghost hunt. I think that's like a cool new multiplayer thing. I like that the tablet has like an option to have that ghost. I don't know, it's kind of cool. Rather, you can't see what's going on, but it's also kind of weird that someone has a different controller than everyone else at times, like when you're playing newer games. So I don't know if they're going to go away from it. It's kind of cool that it adds a new flavor into the mix. What's that? We'll see.
Yeah, the NX will be exciting. You know, it's kind of funny because we used to play these local multiplayer games, split screens on like 19-inch CRT bubble TV. Everybody's crammed in there trying to see what's going on. And now we've got like 60-inch TVs and we're just playing them against people that are in like Finland or something.
Yeah.
So I really want to see
You tell me, Bjorn.
utilized the big screens we got. Let's get 8 people on there. Heck, I mean, let's have some fun.
What was Paul's question?
I was going to say on your Super Metroid, it was actually a legitimate death, because you have to at least get hit by the Hyper V twice.
But I was frozen. I don't know. I mean, I'm not complaining. It was just weird. I never experienced that before. I'm like, so I wasn't mad. I was just, what happened? And then.
It's actually happened to me too, because she saves your life so much, and then starts dropping other, bombs and other shots that it could actually kill you. You can even actually die in mid-hyper V.
Odd. I don't know. Steve.
Yeah, at NWC 2015, was the crowd more into the new games, the retro games, or was it about the same?
The crowd was into Aaron from Game Grumps.
Okay.
When he took first in Mario Kart, we could actually hear it backstage.
Did he just bring a bunch of raiders with him?
No, the YouTube fans, if you notice these panels, all the YouTube stars have like packed houses, and the Atari developers have like 10 peoples, but.
I liked when I went and saw the show in 2015 or this year, but I like the retro games. But that's where my heart is. So
yeah,
I like when Balloon Fight was chosen. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know why they chose Balloon Fight, but
Balloon
it was cool
Fight
to watch.
Mario, backstage during Mario Maker, all the rest of us losers were back there cheering on the
That
Cosmo.
That counts as retro.
Yeah. We were cheering them on like, oh, and with every death and every win, we were really excited, and it was so fun to watch it. And like I said, the whole thing, I was 13 again for that one day, so, and that's why it was great.
There was times like that where I was so confused in the audience of like, what are the rules here? What's going on?
Yeah.
Like, who is which player?
Yeah, when I watched the stream again, it is kind of hard to follow.
Yeah. So I was. I something I think that should be fixed. If anyone from Nintendo is
They should
here.
hire my buddy Trey, who's a master. He's actually doing the Tetris tournament here. Is the production values in terms of having like the webcam show the picture of the face on the screen of the competitors, and all the live scoring and stuff. That was missing from the NWC 2015. So they can step it up. I hope they do.
Yeah, I hope they bring it back. Maybe not every year, maybe every 5, but
Every year.
Every year,
Might as
sure.
well do it every year. That's what I always wanted. There's plenty of games.
that guy.
Two quick ones, semi-quick. First question, esports are more and more of a thing now. Apparently they have huge, like, I guess, donor competitions and whatnot. So the first question was, is that going to be, are we getting closer and closer to these things being broadcast on live TV, network TV, as long as that's going to continue being a thing?
I think you just answered it. I think it's going to overtake live TV eventually because of things like that.
And the second question is, mostly it's newer games, but do you think there's going to be more and more reach back to retro? Is Super Mario Brothers going to be kind of like chess 100 years from now?
Well, yeah, that's what we're trying to do with the Tetris tournament here, is to get it on ESPN something or other eventually. I mean, it's growing year after year. Our streams are doing really well, so.
But at the same time, I feel like it's like hit or miss with the younger people, you know?
Right.
In 20 years, will it be Mario or will it be Minecraft that people are going to retro?
I don't know if you watched like those Hearthstone competitions that are worth like the winner gets like $10 million. I mean, there's not that much money in Tetris, so. And there wasn't much money given away at the NWC this year.
No, that was a shocking part. That was just the trophy for the winner and the signed 3DSs for the 2 finalists.
I mean,
we got it, but that also kind of kept everybody chill. I think if there were actual stakes, you might have seen some salty players.
Let's get steaks and salty players. That sounds delicious.
Delicious salt. My favorite Dr. Mario player.
This is sort of a half response to yours. Actually, I do have a question in your response. One, I think it was either Dota or League of Legends that was shown on, I think it was SBS.
Yeah, League of Legends was, yeah.
There was so much backlash for it, though. And that leads me to my question. Do you think esports are sports? Like, do you think people can actually classify it? Because whenever I try to debate it with a friend, they're like, no.
Do you think poker's a sport?
Yeah.
That's a legitimate question. I mean, it's a skill.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of concentration, but calling it like an athletic sport, I mean, that's a personal judgment. I don't think it's wrong to say it's not. It is competition. It's compelling to watch, so it doesn't really matter.
That was shown on ESPN, but that got no backlash.
Oh,
It's also compared to chess a lot too. I mean, people say chess was a sport at a time.
Chess was an Olympic sport.
Olympic sport, so.
If you go by that definition, then I guess it is. Race car driving is a sport.
Sort of response to that question.
Yeah.
The question to you guys is when some of the backlash was that everything was calling Coward. I don't know how to pronounce. Is it Coward?
He's a troll.
Yeah.
He likes to say controversial things to get clicks. That's the nature of media.
Like, do you think that the general, I guess, media accepts video gaming as just something that nerds do, or that it's a mainstreamist, however you all said, sport?
As soon as they see the paychecks, they'll call it whatever you want it to call it. This guy in the front?
What are your favorite Nintendo games?
Good question. They asked that question in the my player survey, and I put Super Mario Brothers 2 as my favorite Nintendo game. Yeah.
Put a score on it. No, sorry.
No, it had variety, and it was the best looking game at the time when it came out, and it's always stuck with me all these years. I like to go back to that one and play with all the different characters and stuff. But that's, as far as the Nintendo games, that was probably my favorite. But you guys probably like stuff too. I'm a jerk holding them.
Tetris
We all like
has
what Chris likes.
the most replay value, I think, and no one has truly mastered it yet. So that's, if I was stuck on a desert island, that's what I would choose. But the game that really, I think, changed my life was the first Zelda. My whole family, my mom's over there, used to gather behind me and help me solve the little puzzles, and it was like, I don't know, the greatest thing we had ever experienced. That's my favorite.
My old favorites on the NES were like Blaster Master, the Ninja Gaiden stuff. Castlevania 1 and 3, I never really liked 2 that much.
2 is tough.
Batman, the Sunsoft Batman, that was actually a good movie game. And the Joker was a boss. And you know, it's funny, I didn't even like Tetris all that much back then. I had it on the Game Boy, it was the only game I had, so I played a lot. You know, it was there. Now I love it, but I don't play it enough.
Yeah, I'm a Tetris fan, but Dr. Mario I always say is my favorite. I like playing verse mode, Dr. Mario.
By the way, this guy is like 60 times the Dr. Mario player I would ever be. For some reason, my brain doesn't work right playing that game. But it's really cool to see somebody who knows what he's doing.
Thanks, Thor. Chris is really good too. Watch out for Chris. We have to play this week, Chris, or this weekend.
Yeah, maybe after tomorrow's final, we'll put it up on the big screen.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Okay, do you prefer a game that ends with a kill screen or one that goes on infinite? Like in terms of competition?
In terms of competition, it's nice to have a score with the kill screen under 10 minutes long, I would say. I mean, playing for Dr. Mario, if you wanted to get a high score in Dr. Mario, starting at level 0 would take you like 3 hours to do. And you could play pretty much infinitely. So I think, you know, I like that Tetris, you can play a game in like 9 to 10 minutes and max out the game, and then you die. I mean, every game ends in a death rather than a victory, so.
Even Thor's.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have some finality to it. Like if the 1990 wasn't timed and they used the like the Tengen version of Tetris, me and Robin would still be playing to this day.
Robin's mom.
Well, I noticed that all of you guys are essentially about the same age. So, and what I was wondering really is like at the, I mean, in 1990, it was really a kids and teenagers thing, and you know, it was just like swarms of kids doing the Nintendo, and that was like their lives. But now is it like 35-year-old guys who are all the finalists? Because the highest scores that were made in 1990 were the 13 to 18 age group. It wasn't the adults or the younger kids. So I was just wondering what's happened with the teenagers? Are they still out there doing it, or is it you old guys?
I think since this year's was old Nintendo games, it was a mix. But if it had been like Smash Brothers is the most popular Nintendo game competitively, and that's all. I don't think the oldest players maybe in the early 30s. You don't see any people my age playing that.
Yeah, I hate that game. I would have lost in that round. I don't understand that.
No, I love the concept of it, but I'm awful at it. I couldn't. And
Yeah.
I'm old and I have a kid of my own, so the NWC 6-minute game is perfect for me.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think, would you, as a follow-up, would you like to see the future competitions geared more towards the younger people and the teenagers, or do you think that
I think it's got to be. That's where the spirit is. You don't want to see people like me.
Well, I think a lot of the competitions nowadays, like the Call of Duty ones and things like that, have a very young crowd. So there's games out there for the kids. It was nice that they did this year, and then it was Dr. Mario. I was like, my heart was warmed by that. So I was like, oh, I'll wake up early and go out there.
The guy in the back, or did you? Sorry.
Guy in the back. I was just gonna say that I think that they could accomplish both goals. Have multiple game competitions. Yeah. You got the Olympics where there's people competing in different events. Maybe have some classic games. Then you got Splatoon, and that's gonna be like a 19-year-old world champion. I mean, it needs to be something that does appeal to the current kids coming up, getting into Nintendo. Because if it's just too retrospective, I mean, it's kind of closing the door. I mean,
I honestly think that they marketed, old Nintendo games, and that's probably where most of those views came from that were new. Like you're going to have your Smash Brothers elite that watch that stuff, but it's probably a limited market, like in terms of mass market. So, but we're getting.
There's a big balloon fight market.
Balloon, yeah. I know the guy in the back had his van, and then you'd be next. With you got with the yellow, yeah.
Sweet. First of all, Thor, it's nice to see you again. And if I was to challenge you to the NWC 1990 game, would you accept?
Possibly. I'd probably get crushed. I'm absolutely terrible at it now.
Oh, dude, I'm getting crushed out there, dude. I'm terrible at it myself.
Well, we can have fun and get like 900,000 or something.
Okay. Today?
if they're still hooked up somewhere.
If you buy a cartridge, I'll play you.
Yeah, I can get
We're selling. Just so everybody knows, we're selling. Thor and I made a 25th anniversary repro cart. The actual NWC sells for I think 8,000 now, and we did a reproduction where we changed the background in Mario, Rad Racer, and Tetris, and we're selling it over at the Nintendo Age booth.
Would you guys sign it?
Yes, we're signing all the cartridges.
Wow.
I think
What's
so.
that?
That's a good question. I think so, but get back to me. Because the guy who created it goes by Bunny Boy. He's right next to our table. You can ask him. Whoever asked that.
Purple.
I'm curious as to how much time you spend in gaming and if it is an increase when it's time for competition or if it's pretty consistent. There's no judgment behind my question.
Back then, it was my whole middle school existence. Nowadays, I have a kid of my own, so I hardly play at all. This one, she's only 6, so not a whole lot. She gets bored pretty quickly and wants to play something else, or anytime there's a major challenge, she doesn't like anything that's challenging. I need to fix that. So she'll play for 10 minutes and be done with it. So she doesn't really play a whole lot yet. She'll probably get more into it later on. But I only got into this just because it was old games, and I was already on the leaderboard when they announced that was going to be the game. So for 3 weeks straight, I played nothing but that stupid NWC remix over and over and over and over and over again, and wore out my 3DS playing it. So for this one shot of bringing back something from 25 years ago, it was really crazy that they even did that. I mean, we're talking about a company that they're selling their 25-year-old product and bringing that back in a mass market. It was crazy. And I mean, I saw these two 4 years ago in a panel just like this with the old converted parking garage at this show. And here I am on the same stage with them now. I mean, it's really, really special to me.
Good job.
As far as I go with the Tetris tournament, I play, I like playing Tetris when I'm, just at home, maybe 10 minutes a day. That's what I enjoy about it. You can play a couple games. You can play a couple times if you, want to just relax. I use it to relax rather than to actually prepare. I mean, I do have goals of maxing the game out eventually, but I'm getting there. Maybe 1 hour at a time, but a game will take 10 minutes at the most if you max out.
So going forward in the future for all you guys, do you guys have any ideas on what you want to, or do you guys have any plans at all or any thoughts or feelings about competing in the future? And if so, what would they be?
I still want there to be a Dr. Mario World Championship, and I don't want to put it together, so.
If there were something that they could put up that would be a tournament you'd be interested in, what game would you want to play at?
I don't think they could do better than what they did this year, so I'm good.
I would like to see a Mike Tyson's Punch-Out with a different guy that you couldn't memorize ahead of time. There's actually a gentleman, I think his name's Julian, that just created his own NWC with Rescue Rangers 2, Excite Bike, and Tetris. He's on YouTube. I think you just look up Nintendo World Championships, and the cartridge that he was...
That's a PAL one, right? That's a PAL guy?
Yeah, but he says it plays on NTSC too.
Okay.
So, anyway, he just mailed Thor and I copies of it, and we're going to crack it open probably tonight, play it for the first time, and put it on YouTube. But one of my games that I won in '91 was Rescue Rangers, so I think I might have
Was that a
Thor's
special
number.
cartridge, or did they just play the stock versions?
That was just stock version.
Okay.
Actually, the Tailspin was a prototype, and the bonus round was different, but never mind.
Because I'm fascinated with these competitions because Sega did some too in the blockbusters, so I'd love to know what the format was for that.
I've actually got an idea that I feel like there's a lot of unloved games, but the AVGN proves that some of the bad games can be hilarious. We should have like the bad game championships. LJN Survivor mode.
Dragon's Lair or something.
We'd have to have extra controllers on hand.
Yep.
There's actually a fighting game tournament in the South. I think it's CEO, but they have a mystery game tournament that often veers into bad game territory.
It's easy to do with fighting games.
They steer away from fighting games for some of these. They
Oh.
just go for the weird and esoteric and sometimes awful. And MacFest always has their, beat these awful games challenge. Sword of Sodium was there one year.
Oof.
I don't know if you played it, but it's impossible.
We need was it Dark Castle or whatever?
There also should be a Windjammers World Championship. That is the best game of all time.
Has anybody here played a game that was universally reviled now as like a terrible game, but when you were young you didn't realize it, and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's like you get used to it. What's that? Oh, Shaq Fu.
I did see like online they have like a rock paper scissors championship, and I thought that was interesting. And I don't know if that counts as a game or a sport either, or both.
Well, ask Colin Cowherd.
I wouldn't say it was terrible, but Battleland's Secret Castle was just baffling.
Everybody liked it back then, too.
Yeah, everybody liked it back then, and now you're like, why did I like it?
We should do like Taboo the Sixth Sense championship.
The guy with the Bowser shirt. Is that Bowser?
That's Frank.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Hey, when you guys traveled to the different NWCs, did you see any changes in the layout or the games they showcased, or anything that stuck out in your mind with that kind of stuff? Differences between the shows? Because I know it evolved while they were traveling, apparently.
All right. There were some minor changes as far as what was there. The biggest change was the first few cities were just the Nintendo World Championships, is how they marketed it and how everything was. And then they started marketing it more as a Power Fest to incorporate more elements. Things were really strange. Like it varied as far as what the prizes were in a city. It was kind of odd, but it was always epic in scale. But no, I guess to answer your question directly, there wasn't a real substantive change as to what was there. Like by the end of the tour, there were games on display for NES and Game Boy that had actually been released and had been out for a long time. You could go up and play them, but it wasn't the same as when you first saw the first city and there were games that were like
Mega Man 3. Oh my God.
Yeah,
that was right there, and there were like 50 people around the kiosk. I couldn't even get a chance to play it, but I got to watch it, and I was blown away.
Do you guys remember the most advertised game at the Nintendo?
Mario 3, wasn't it?
Well, no. It was a Styanax. Like, there were so many flyers of that just everywhere, like on the floors and everything.
It's a
They
great
were really
game.
pushing Final Fantasy too, I remember. And still nobody bought it. Yeah.
How's that game doing now? No, that's the
It's not great.
Is that how you
game.
pronounce it?
It's a
That's
great
how well
game.
it's doing.
I got it for my 8th birthday. I think it was bought in like a bargain bin. So
I have
I
dozens
spent
of
many
flyers.
hours. Wait, we have a
Army
final.
person
We've
here.
been practicing
She made
something.
my cool sign.
It's true. I don't know if you really want to make me this for but we are already sick.
Wow. Okay.
Well, we wanted to sing a song for everyone that Thor and Robin sung in the 1990 championship. So, we want to. All right, let's interlock arms and. Yeah.
I will endorse it entirely.
Yeah.
I bet I'd actually do it.
And the guy at the Plaid, he asked the best question today. So I have a set of signed NWC finalist trading cards. Wow. That all 8 finalists signed them, including Mick, who's I keep bringing him up. But feel free to take these. It's going to be difficult to get all those otherwise. So thanks for that. Was very cool to be up here. So. And I have my own signed cards. Maybe Mick has some. I don't know if he brought his or not, but if, we'll be at the table or something. And if anybody wants a card, I have way too many of them. Is that it?
Okay, thanks.
Yay! Thank you.
We are the champions.